Good evening, everyone. I would like to thank you all for joining us for our second Parent Involvement Committee meeting for the year. My name is Huma Chaudhry, and I'm one of your co-chairs, along with Peter Aki, and we will be chairing tonight's meeting. I would like to begin the meeting by first reading the land acknowledgement. The Durham District School Board acknowledges that many Indigenous nations have long-standing relationships, both historic and modern, with the territories upon which our school board and schools are located. Today, this area is home to many Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island. We acknowledge that the Durham region forms a part of the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississaugas of Sququag Island First Nation and the Mississauga peoples, and the treaty territory of the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation. It is on these ancestral and treaty lands that we teach, learn, and live. I would also like to read the Indigenous rights and human rights statements. The Durham District School Board recognizes Indigenous rights are distinct. In the exercise of those rights, Indigenous staff and students shall not be subjected to actions with the aim or effect of depriving these distinct rights. The Durham District School Board is committed to learning and working environments that center human rights and equity and are safe, welcoming, respectful, equitable, accessible, inclusive, and free from discrimination. So now, moving. So I'm going to hand this over to Peter. Go ahead, Peter.
Sure, no problem. Thank you very much for coming out, folks, and hopefully that your day was a good day today. So really just want to approve the minutes from October the 18th, 2023. Now I see here May 30th, 2023.
I approve.
Can get notice for the record. And we also like to introduce a newest member of our PIC. Oh, sorry, did we get a seconder for the approval?
I saw Archie's hand up.
Okay.
So Gerline is first and Archie is second.
Great. Well, I would like to introduce our new PIC member, Shirley Ostertag from North Elementary. Is Shirley
Thank
available?
You. Yeah, I'm here. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. Back to you, Uma, regarding the volunteer. Actually, do you want to take a minute or two before I move on? Shirley, to just give us a little bit of who you are and why you decided to join our fantastic team here.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Shirley Ostertag. I have 3 children that go to McCaskill Mills Public School in Cannington. I've been a part of the SCC there for the past 6 years, the chair for the past 5. And our group is kind of like it runs very well. And I was just seeing, the principal asked if I wanted to join and to see what else everybody else was doing. And I thought I'd give it a shot. So thank you and for welcoming me.
And thank you so much for joining our team. We appreciate you and look forward to working with you over the course of the year, indeed.
Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. Uma, just want to back to you regarding a volunteer distinction evening.
Thank you, Peter. So on Tuesday, October 24th, 2024, 2023, I should say, sorry. We had our Volunteer of Distinction ceremony held at, and it was, I believe, the first one after 3 years hiatus that was held in person. Both myself, Louise, Superintendent Thompson, and many other members of the PIC committee were present, and we were able to meet and greet many of the volunteers that were recognized. And it was just so nice to see the principals and the VPs there as well. And we were also able to listen to many of the musical talents that are present within our school board. So there were students that performed in between the presentations. So it was a lovely evening. And we are hoping that as we move forward, we're going to be able to continue with this tradition every year. So we'd like to move on to now our PIC subcommittee updates. We've had a very busy month since our last meeting. All of the committees have been able to meet and have initial conversations and think about how they're going to move forward. So I was going to now hand it over to Mitzi Hussett, who is going to speak about the PIC Communications Committee.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Our communication department met last week, and we decided that our main focus this year was to make communication of information and events more accessible to our larger community, to our more diverse communities. And there's a few things that our research partners have discovered, have found out that, and when they have shared their feedback, what they realized was the most engaging way to include our communities and to include our schools in the DDSB and its event was through social media and the website channels. But what we realized was that the parent engagement section of the websites were being underused and they were not being maintained or updated. So what we discussed as a committee is that our central communication team has agreed that centralizing this page of the website will allow the PIC to push information and update to all the schools a lot more effectively, because we could directly have access to the website and being able to put links into the website and into the schools. In essence, what we're trying to do is make a one-stop place for all and everything that is DDSB and PIC related, so that there is no discrepancy or delay when it comes to bringing information out for events and for just knowledge in general. Everybody has that equity and that equal opportunity to be able to meet their needs. One example that we could use is connecting the parent handbook to the website, so that it's easily accessible. And of course, as education and engagement continues to evolve, we have that easy access to update the information and give the information out in real time. And of course, we're working on getting our social media platforms up and running in the next few months, sometime next year, so that we could continue to be up to date with the communication changes of our time. Until that point, we're going to continue with our newsletter. We had newsletters last year, and they came out about 3 to 4 times in the course of our academic year. And it focused on messages from the PIC. It focused on any kind of recap that we had of events that the other subcommittees have put forth, to let the broader community know what has happening and what we're doing. And of course, to let our community know that there are different events happening in the Durham region around holidays, around March break, so that our families could find things to engage their children in as we take breaks throughout the academic year. And of course, DDSB run events. So that we are continuing with that over the course of the year, and keeping and focusing on those holidays and being able to push our newsletter out around those times. And that is what we're up. That's where we are right now. We're organizing our meetings to get that started, and we will update you as we move through.
Thank you so much, Mitzi, for that update, and we look forward to reading the newsletter as it comes out this year. Peter, do you want to introduce the next committee?
Sure. I was just going to ask if anyone, before I introduced Arsha and Barry, I was going to ask if anyone had any comments or questions for Mitzi regarding that piece. And you can also put questions or comments in the chat as well, if you have any thoughts regarding that piece. Thank you very much, Mitzi, for the work. Communication is a very, very big thing to navigate, especially since our city is so diverse. So we appreciate the work that you're doing regarding this to ensure the parents are engaged. So now I'd like to turn it over to Archie Ali and Barry Bedford in regarding the speaker series. Take it away, folks.
Archie, did you have anything to share? Did you want me to talk?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay.
Barry?
So we're looking at the survey results, as it says here that there was kind of a mix of virtual events with regional in-person SCC. Even
Mhm.
with that, just to, I think some people got very comfortable. I'm not entirely sure why, but some people got really comfortable with the virtual. And of course, I mean, I say that with a bit of flippancy. I apologize, but I mean, I certainly understand those with younger family or people that work other hours or those kinds of things. Virtual works better. But I've also spoken with a lot of people, and myself included. I think we miss the in-person aspect. Like there's just not the same kind of a connection or interaction, because these kinds of things, like I'm sure you were all taller than, 1 inch by 1 inch, but that's kind of all I see is these little postage stamp people all of the time. So there would certainly be the in-person aspects as well. We forwarded a few different keynote opportunities. I think there was a good mix of people that had been put forward for some of the keynotes. And I think after, I'm sorry, the days have blurred together. I want to say Tuesday for those individuals who had the time and the opportunity to take part in the human rights session that the PIC committee offered, listening to it, also trying to focus in on some of the aspects that have been a little, choosing my words carefully, problematic perhaps, or some confusion around identities that have been occurring within the Durham area. And certainly, besides where it's kind of, and I'm not speaking for all identities by any means, but kind of, it's almost as though within some communities, it's kind of pitting some groups against other groups. And that's not all people of that identity, but that's kind of where it is. So I think to actually kind of show a fair representation and offer an opportunity for individuals to see that people are in fact individuals, and that we shouldn't always necessarily believe what we're seeing on Facebook or what we're seeing online, is to actually have an opportunity to interact and actually realize that people are real behind the screens, and what we hear virtually or via some whatever, like it's not, these are real kids, these are real adults, they're real families of all identities. And I think like we don't all necessarily see eye to eye on things, but I think we all have to be respectful, we all have to be understanding, and I think we have a lot to learn about each other. So I think favoring like some speakers around that's very representative and a very wholesome kind of approach would be what we'd be looking at moving forward for this year's speaker series. Archie, would you like to add anything? I certainly don't claim to speak for you.
I think you spoke very well, and you covered all of the aspect of the speaker series. I'm quite satisfied.
Before Uma introduces Carolyn, is there any other comments or questions that you have for Barry and or Archie regarding the parent speaker series? And again, you can utilize the chat if you need to.
I have a question.
Okay.
My question is that, like, why most people are, agree for the virtual event? Is there any specific, like?
I'm sorry, your question is why should there be a virtual event?
Yeah, virtual event. Why? Most of the people, agree to have virtual event. The human connection is so precious, and if you meet person to person, it has a very different and distinct impact as compared to just open up a screen and just sit down and talk.
Okay, so I can, for lack of time, I can give you a personal answer and I can give you a professional answer, and sometimes both of them don't meet at the intersect.
Okay.
But I will try to incorporate this answer in one. Can you do a hybrid model? Hybrid model, some people because of as a result of the big C, I won't say what the big C is, I don't want to put credence to that, but because of that, a lot of people have gotten quite comfortable in that environment, shifting in that environment. And in all honesty, I don't think some people are 100% safe or feel safe. So that's why they remain in that environment. Some schools, thank you, Louise, they do offer watch party options, so school can have the ability to host these virtual events. Yes. Yeah, I mean, even in the workplace, you would find that as well. even at our SCC or last SCC, I believe it was in person. A few folks were inquiring about why there isn't a virtual option, but in the elementary section, we had it virtual. So I just think, I don't know. I've had this debate or question regarding it. Some people are still quite comfortable with the virtual piece, and I don't know if they'll ever get back to the in-person. And some people like myself are just social beings and love their interaction with folks. So as much as we possibly can, I believe we can try and do both, but I am in favor of the in-person much as possible. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Uma, before you introduce Carolyn.
No, I think Superintendent Thompson can speak on this.
Okay.
And so just to piggyback on what Peter was saying, some of our conversations and what Louise put in the chat was that we were looking at perhaps doing a keynote that and some different pieces that were virtual, but that the schools themselves could welcome in their parent community into their schools, and or at a central location such as the feeder high school, to have a larger watch party event where there could also be some networking, some communication, and some other pieces that maybe the SCCs would like to communicate to their to be responsive to their own community. And so that was an idea, as well as what we'll probably kind of land on. So it's a little bit of a hybrid, being able to welcome back people into the school setting, but also have that virtual option if required. I think more to come on that.
Yeah, I just want to add just a 30-second piece as well too. The hybrid piece for some folks may not have the equipment for some areas to accommodate the hybrid. And you would have to actually have also, depending upon the environment and the type of meeting, you have to have somebody actually use the word manage the station, because you don't want to exclude individuals with their comments. That I've seen that where people are just putting many comments that you can't react and respond to quite quickly. So it does take a bit of navigation to do both. So yeah, so sometimes just the actual piece as well, equipment to have the accessibility for that as well too.
Excellent points, Peter.
Thank you very much. Back to my partner Uma.
Thanks, Peter.
You're welcome.
Okay, so the next committee that we have is the Programs Committee, and our lead is Carolyn Waters, but I don't see her here. Am I correct?
Yeah, so I will take that.
Yes, please.
So we have our pro grants, which SCCs can apply for some funding to do some work within their schools that are specific to the needs of their particular area. And so far, we've had some really great submissions, interesting ones. And so far, we've actually had a request of $50,000 out to our communities and SCCs. So our deadline is coming up the 17th. So just a reminder, we've been putting out to those SCCs to try to get in an application, because we know it's a great opportunity to use some funds that are provided to them to do some of the work within their community that they wish to do.
I wanted to ask if there's an SCC that wants to apply, but they are still not 100% which direction they want to go. Could they at least put an initial application in and then revise it as needed?
Absolutely. So if there's any questions, or if there's concerns even just around that application date, that some are kind of close to target, but just couldn't maybe get some of the, maybe they're doing some quotes or there's something that hasn't come in, to please reach out to Louise Vukas or to our parent engagement at DDSB.ca, and we can help sort that through and figure out some accommodations.
Thank you. And Archie just had a question. She was just wondering, where can we use the program, or is it up to the committee? So do you mean, Archie, the PIC committee or your SCC committee?
SCC committee, because now I am a part of, I'm co-chair of parent council at CVI, Eastdale CVI school. So I know this, like, I received an email from a principal, like the program is application due by November 17th. That's why I'm asking this question.
It comes specifically from the SCC group in consultation with principals. So reach back out to your principal to see if there's been some ideas. Perhaps there were some conversations last year, some thinking for this year. And again, reach out to Louise if you have any questions or if you need any more information, and she'll help sort through that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. If there aren't any other questions regarding the pro grant, then I'm going to hand it over to Peter to cover the next committee, please.
Thank you so much. So our next committee fourth committee is engaging our diverse community. For some of you, you might have seen it says social justice and equity. I believe it was called something like that last year, but now the terminology is changed to make it more broad and to incorporate more of inclusive aspects. So it's now called engaging our diverse community. And I'd like to ask Tara Bryan to discuss the Spotlight series, please.
So if Tara is not present, just a quick conversation around that. So one of the things that we're looking at is having some conversations with some of the various central departments and support that might be available to some families. So some of the conversations that we've had is some different series for some of our newcomers, for instance. So she's pursuing some conversations with our Swiss worker, which helps support our newcomers to find out what some of their needs are, or some of their areas that they're having some challenges with that we might be able to support with some extra and additional information, or which is why we're calling it a Spotlight series. So specifically for some of those needs that might come up.
And do you happen to know when the brochure might be coming out?
Yeah, there is going to be, what was being held up is there's actually a secondary human rights kind of campaign to help support for families, students, and staff that have to do with our human rights policy, so that we get better understanding across our entire community. And so there was just some questions around some of our details within it, just to make sure that it was completely in alignment. So it's pretty much complete. So that should be coming out very, very shortly.
Thank you. And I also wanted to just let everyone know who wasn't present yesterday, is that yesterday Superintendent Candace Thompson went over the human rights presentation that's been sent out to all the schools that the SCCs are going to cover with their members. So we were able to get through that because some of us haven't had that exposure yet, and it was great. It was very informative. We are now well versed in parts of the policy. And if your school hasn't yet done that at their SCC meeting, please remind the administration to do so. So then all the members of your SCC understand what's going on, and then that can be communicated to the greater community. Are there any questions or any points anyone would like to bring up in regards to the work of this committee before we move on? Okay, so we'll move on to the last committee, which is our school community councils subcommittee. Sorry, I just saw a question. Shirley, is that question in regards to the human rights policy information?
We haven't gotten anything for that in our SCC.
So they haven't mentioned anything at the meeting?
Absolutely not, no.
Okay, so then for sure you need to send an email to the principal or even make a phone call, because it has been sent out. And
okay,
it is,
perfect.
Yeah, and then they have slides, like it's basically set out for them. It's not anything that they have to make up themselves. It's a presentation they have to share.
Was it only shared with the principals or with the chair, like the SCC email as well?
It is to be led by the principals.
Admin? Okay.
So it went to them. Now, to be fair, it did come out after after the start of the year, and some people had already had their first SCC meeting or already had a pretty packed agenda. So you might be seeing it your next meeting, but it's a great reach out.
Okay, I meet with her to go over the agenda tomorrow, actually, so that works out really well. Thank you.
Yeah, at our last SCC meeting, the principal did took a portion of the agenda and did a presentation of the document. It's quite worth looking at, and I appreciate you, Candice, for going through that with us yesterday as well.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you. So our final committee is the School Community Councils Committee, which came about through discussion through PIC members last year, and when they were also speaking with their SCCs in regards to how can we engage with other SCCs, how can we share ideas, find out what works, what doesn't work, problem solve, etc. And there was some discussion about bringing back the regional SCCs, which, to be honest, I was never involved in. Many of us might not have been present even in the school board when those were around. So Superintendent Thompson has been doing a lot of research in regards to how to run these if we want to run them the way they were being run before. So I was wondering if you could share with us what you've come up with. Thank you.
Absolutely. So the regional event took place at the Education Center, and an administrator brought either the chair of the SCC to this or a designate. So you came as a team. And so when we think about all of the SCCs across the system, along with an administrator, it's quite a significant number of people. They were quite well attended in the past. We had a survey that went out to chairs and to administrators, so we're just waiting on some of that info about whether or not they would like a keynote speaker, or if they would like to have a panel of maybe some of the people from last year who had some successful program initiatives, and or have some other things to share about engagement in a positive way that has been successful of engaging their community. So a panel type situation, and then a series of breakouts that they could choose from. And we sent out what things would people be interested in and rating those. So those could be done by our central team. So there might be one on, some of the examples were on cyber safety, on literacy nights, on numeracy nights, and ways to engage the community back into the schools. And then we also asked about how highly they would rate also some networking. So maybe being able to get together everybody in the Ajax area that's there to get together to have some more regional kind of conversation points. So that, and I'm going to ask Louise when we were kind of going to be closing that survey that was sent out, if she's on here, that she might be able to give us an update, little snippet of what we found.
No problem. So the survey is due to close at the end of the week, and then I'll be putting together a summary of information to send out to the SCC subcommittee, and we'll be able to share that with the PIC committee as well. We've had quite good feedback to date. I think we've got about 40 or 50 responses from SCC chairs and administrators, which is wonderful. A pretty good range of feedback in terms of the types of topics and focuses that people are looking for. Generally, we're seeing a trend of the same types of responses. So that will definitely help guide the direction that we take for the first regional event that we've held in quite a few years now. So yes, that closes at the end of the week, and then I'll share that information. I think I can see a hand up as well with a question, Barry.
Well, no, I was just going to say, when I was on the board, I was on the committee for the regional SCC, and they were really well attended, and there was many, like I can remember some of the breakouts being on like accounting kind of thing, where I believe his name was Sid, I think I don't know if he's still around or not, but he is. He is, okay. And he came out and, like, you know, he worked with kind of like the treasurer, like just kind of on giving some tips in that capacity. There was sessions on how to engage more of the parent community at schools, like so schools that had, you know, larger SCCs that had more parent engagement, not better parent engagement, but more. They came out and it was just kind of a sharing session on these were some of the strategies that they use just to give new ideas, because oftentimes at schools it's the same parents, often the same moms that come out, and you know, just giving some different strategies and things like that. So I think as a principal, when I was there, and also when I was at the Ed Center in Durham, they were quite well attended, and I think people walked away quite enjoying just the ability to network, where it wasn't just this small schools, 6 parents that kind of did everything, where they got to network with others. So it was quite a successful evening.
Thank you, Barry, for that description. And I feel like there's one of our members from last year, she's no longer on the committee. That was the vision she had in her mind when she kept talking about regional SEC. So I'm really excited to see how this is going to work out for all of us. And I really hope it's going to be a fruitful experience. There's one thing I just wanted to point out. We don't have a formal lead for this committee. I know some people have sent in messages. If you are interested, please do send Louise a direct email, or even send it in the chat right now. Just because the more the quicker we have the lead, the better, because then the work will move faster. And Peter and I are always here to support you. But again, we would just want to make sure that the leads are diverse. So again, that we are making sure that we're reaching all of the needs of all of our PIC members.
I just want to add too that what I like about this particular piece as well too is, unfortunately, as a SEC member, and I've been on SEC now for many years, you can get quite siloed into your approach, and you don't have much time to really even, like, I mean, I know, you know, I might have heard of Barry, but how do I connect with him? He's the SEC over at another school in Pickering, so we don't have the time to even think about networking. And I really appreciate and looking forward to this as well, just to hear those ideas, because sometimes our good ideas are not really great ideas. And it'd be nice to hear other people's philosophies about certain things. So I'm looking forward to this piece, most definitely, especially for the networking side, and to see where that could also go. So I'm looking forward to that. Okay.
So I think this is the first time in a very long time that we are finishing a meeting in less than an hour. So either we're very efficient
or people are just shy.
Exactly. So I just wanted to ask though, before we end, Superintendent Thompson, I know we're supposed to have our trustee here for even the meeting to take place. So technically, what happens with anything that we've discussed today?
So very interesting. I'm not completely sure.
Okay.
So I'm just reaching out to some people with that exact piece in mind. I think that we can go ahead. We'll make sure that moving forward, we have an alternate that's ready to step in. So just not sure what has occurred that we are unaware of, and I don't know. So I think that it will be fine with our decisions. We're basically information only tonight. A lot of the committees are kind of working on pieces that will send for more information, because we just really started getting a lot of the ideas together and kind of firming up some of those things. But we're not really making all the decisions here with respect to some of those pieces. So I think a lot of it was just information sharing tonight. So it should be fine.
Perfect. Thank you.
Much appreciated.
No problem. I just want to make sure we're checking off all the boxes.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to hand it over to Peter to wrap up for today.
Sure. Well, this has been great. This committee work, the work that we're doing, quite excites myself, because it's all about the next generation. So I'm looking forward to working with you all. I think Uma had suggested it, or actually, I know she mentioned it, that please feel free to reach out to either one of us if you have any questions. And even at work, I have a parking lot, so even if I don't have the answer, I'll park it and get the answer for you. That's why we're here, to support each other and grow and learn from each other. It just seemed like it's like a quarter away. Like, our next meeting is in the next year. And I'm so excited. I want to have a meeting next week. So our next meeting is in February the 21st. I know that it's a long way. I would advise though that to stay connected, because even though a lot of things are going to happen between now and then, right? Families and holidays and work and vacations and all that. So as much as possible, stay plugged in, so that we can come back returning in February with a new sense of vigor and energy and excitement for our upcoming year. Once again, feel free to reach out to any one of us if you have any questions at all. And thank you so much for your commitment to this team. And if there isn't anything Uma could add, I mean, have a happy, this sounds strange, have a happy new year.
Yes.
Oh, yes, yes. In the meantime, our subcommittees will be active. I believe there are meetings in December, I believe.
Yes, many meetings. Louise is
Many meetings.
already,
Lots,
yeah,
lots of
she's sending
meetings.
out
There's lots.
reminders.
Yeah, there's
So
lots.
the next
Louise is
few
so
weeks.
amazing.
So make sure you check your email, put it in your Google Calendar. I think all the subcommittees are going to have meetings coming up. So stay connected, and we'll keep the communication going, and we'll use the month of December to just get the work done in smaller groups so we come out strong in the new year.
Most definitely.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a great night.
Have a good
Good
night,
night.
everyone. Have yourself
Good
a wonderful
night.